It's a Taijuan Walker day, guys. Welcome into our PHLY Phillies pregame show as Tyler Zulli, myself, Renee Washington are previewing the series opener of a 4-game series versus the Mets. We'll get into the pitching matchup of Walker versus Luis Severino. We'll also talk about starting lineups, some injury updates, some magic numbers, some predictions, all that good stuff before 7:15. Tyler, Taijuan Walker is back.
Yeah, he is. Yes. I don't know how much confidence this instills in anybody. The Phillies have gone through the gamut of quad A pitchers and bullpen games and Taijuan Walker starts and have gone full circle of life back to Taijuan Walker as a starter today. I thought Kolby Allard was the best of the group of the guys that, were making spot starts between him, Tyler Phillips, Tyler Gilbert, Michael Mercado. I thought that Kolby Allard was the best of the group, but we talked about it with Kolby Allard. Like, eventually something was going to the levee was going to break at some point. That tends to happen with junk ballers, with guys that don't have premier stuff. He was throwing 89, 90, 91 and challenging guys up in the zone. Eventually it was going to happen. So now we find ourselves all the way back to Taijuan Walker. I know it's only for a handful of more starts, but you're looking for like a baseline of don't be dreadful today. Like, if you can keep your team in the game, you have done your job. And whether that's 3 innings, 4 innings, whatever the case may be, if he can keep this to like 4 innings and 3 earned runs, I think the Phillies will take that.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, when you think about it, it's quite ironic. This is what sports do. Full circle moment that we were very upset with Taijuan Walker in his last start back on August 28th. If we take a trip down memory lane, we will remember what that dreadful day was like when the Phillies lost 10-0. Walker gave up 13 hits, 6 earned runs, and was not good in his 6 innings. And for Taijuan Walker, we were wondering what his role was going to look like and how they were going to utilize him. We've seen him in the bullpen. Of course, we saw him helping out Kolby Allard, ironically, to piggyback to make sure to get 3 innings in Kolby Allard's last start. But Taijuan Walker is back. And to our points that we've talked about many, many times here on the show, this is obviously the reality that the 5th starter is not going to be something you're worried about come playoff time anyways. You need to just get through and patch through. The Phillies have a chance, and we'll talk about the magic number, of course, to lock in a playoff spot. They're closing in on the NL East. But it unfortunately starts with Taijuan Walker, who, according to StatCast, is in the bottom 1% of all pitchers in expected ERA with a bearing a 6.55, not great. And he, in his last 14 innings, has struck out 2 hitters and has the lowest strikeout per 9 rate in his career currently. But as we've talked about before, the Kolby Allards, Tyler Phillips, you name it, as you go through the whole gamut of everybody that's locked, been able to step into the number 5 spot, you just don't have a good fit. You don't have a good guy that can step into that role that doesn't have you on the edge of your seat. So today it is Taijuan Walker getting the start. Taijuan Walker with his 3-6 record, a 6.29 ERA, 55 strikeouts. The right-handed pitcher goes up against. It's a righty pitcher day. We've got Luis Severino on the other side for the Mets, who's 10-6 with a 3.77 ERA, 149 strikeouts. We'll get into the lineup specifically of what it's looking like. But you have a chance to go up against Severino, which for him, he has been also in his 5 starts pitching pretty okay. For Severino, let me just find the exact number because there was one I had that was a really crazy number. So Severino has a 2.86 ERA at home. That's always encouraging, which is 2 runs lower than his road ERA. So he's better at home, similar as we talk about, like a Christopher Sanchez, for instance. Sure. And he is also someone that hopefully the Phillies have a chance to get after early. We've talked about the offensive struggles. We've talked about what they need to do. Well, here's another chance. Game 1 of 4 and it's Severino today. Another chance to set the tone early and maybe get the offense clicking and have a good offensive day, especially since yesterday we just simply did not get that.
Yeah, Severino's been good. I think in outside of the last start that he made against the Phillies, which he wasn't terrible. He gave up 3 earned and over 6 innings. But prior to that, he had given up 1 earned run or less in 4 of his previous 5 starts. Got hit around a little bit in Arizona, but pitched 5 good innings against the Padres. A complete game shutout against the Marlins back on August 17th. 7 innings of 1-run ball against Boston. Followed that up with 6 2/3 of 1-run ball against Cincinnati. And as you made mention, his numbers are definitively better at home than they were on the road. And you can just talk about it over those last 5 games. The Cincinnati game, he was took a no decision. However, it was at home. The game against Boston, he got the win. It was at home. The game against Miami, the complete game shutout, it was at home. They're trusting him to get deeper into games now. He's thrown at least 87 pitches in every one of his starts since the beginning of August. He's done a really nice job as of late for this Mets team. And we've talked about the rotation a lot for the Mets over the last couple of weeks. He has stepped up. Sean Manaea has stepped up. Jose Quintana has stepped up. There's a reason they're playing really good baseball. Yeah, they've strung together some really good offensive performances, but those top 3 in their starting rotation, and David Peterson was great the last time out against the Phillies as well. They've really kept them afloat or brought them back to life after a little bit of a weak start to begin the year.
Yeah, and to your point for Severino with his numbers in the 5 starts since that complete game shutout against Miami, he has been 2-0 with a 3.07 ERA. You mentioned how well he's been pitching since then. He also has been doing a better job with his fastball. It's 3% higher rate of strikeouts than it was last season, according to StatCast. Some numbers that we're seeing ticket upwards for Luis Severino. And so as we're looking at the pitching matchup, it is, of course, important to look at the lineups for today as we're in this pregame show presented by Miller Lite. Where Miller Lite gets you the great taste and all the things you love about light beer with fewer calories per can. Well, lineup today we've got for the Phillies as it's rolled out. It's going to be Kyle Schwarber starting things off. No surprise there. There's a little bit of a surprise across the lineups for both sides. The one here, though, it's Kyle Schwarber, then Trey Turner, Bryce Harper. We've got Alec Boehm back in the 4 spots. Nick Castellanos batting 5th. Bryson Stott, JT Realmuto, Brandon Marsh, and then Cal Stevenson, as Rob Thompson mentioned, wants to give him a chance, see what he can do. He gets to start at center field today. So we are seeing Cal Stevenson, who's gotten now another start at center field, getting tested out. This is an opportunity for a player like him with every game, with every inning that he gets under his belt to show that he belongs on the playoff roster. That's the fight for that group of the Cal Stevensons and Weston Wilsons and Cody Clemens. I mean, you can definitively say there's, even with Austin Hayes, depending on whether or not he is able to get back, regardless, there's a battle for those final playoff spots. Also, just in the sense of whether or not the Phillies would prefer to have, the numbers that they'd like to shake out. More bench pieces, bullpen arms, whatever they'd like to decide to do. Cal Stevenson's in that hunt, so does get to start in center field, which, Tyler, I don't know about you, I was pretty surprised by. But there was another surprise on the other side I want to share before I get your thoughts. As the Mets have today released their lineup, it's Iglesias starting things off, Brandon Nimmo, Mark Vientos, you've got Pete Alonso 4th, Jesse Winker, you've got Martinez, Taylor, Francisco Alvarez, and Luis Archangel Acuna is batting last. And if you notice, no Francisco Lindor. Lindor is out dealing with the back issue, I should say. Unfortunately for the Mets, sidelined 3 to 5 days at the earliest for Francisco Lindor, who's been having an MVP season. We knew that there was some potential he'd be out. We didn't know how long. I think on the bright side, it's only 3 to 5 days if you're the Mets. But nonetheless, no Lindor for the Mets. And then for the Phillies, of course, Cal Stevenson in the lineup is a change.
Yeah, Luis Angel Acuna kind of shot up their ranks after getting traded for.
Oh, yeah, Angel, my bad. Wrong name, wrong player.
I believe he was. I believe he was in the DeGrom deal. It was either DeGrom or Verlander, but I want to say it was in the DeGrom deal that they got him in. There, it was a 1-for-1 deal. Now, granted, part of the reason they moved off from DeGrom was because of the contract. They wanted to get away from the money, of course. But they're high on this kid, and he shot up through AA, shot up through AAA, and made his major league debut last weekend against the Phillies. They think he's going to be a stalwart in their lineup somewhere. Obviously, he's not going to play short with Francisco Lindor there, but they're going to find ways to get this kid at bats down the stretch, especially until Lindor comes back off of this injury. One of the guys who made mention in the lineup today that I wanted to bring up was JD Martinez, and he is one of the only guys that has done significant damage off of Taijuan Walker. He's 7 of 18 in his career. He's driven in 3. His OBP is over 400. The other guys that are in the 3s are like they're 1 for 3 or 2 for 6. Like it's small sample size. He's the one that's done a lot of damage to Taijuan Walker over the course of his career, but he's also 1 for his last 36. He is really, really, really struggling. He has 3 for his last 36. He has 3 hits in the month of September. He struck out 11 times. He's driven in only 4 runs, just 1 extra base hit. He is a guy to keep an eye on because of his numbers against Walker, but he also has struggled mightily in the last calendar month or so. It'll be interesting to see that matchup. Is it a breakout game for JD Martinez, or is it a get back to some semblance of control in a 1-to-1 matchup for Taijuan Walker?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't know where I got Louis Archangel from, but I think I'm just getting extremely in the Bible right now, or in the church.
Archangels and X-Men. That's where.
I'm just mixing some things in there. So, anyways, for Acuna, as you mentioned, he has actually been looking really good since stepping in for Lindor. 5 for 8 with 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, starting at shortstop the past 2 games. The Mets are coming off of a series sweep against the Nationals. Didn't miss Lindor too much. That is the 3rd time this season that's happened. Wild. And now, of course, as we know, with the Phillies coming off of losing that series to the Brewers, where they dropped 2 of 3, unfortunately. 2 great pitching games that we saw for the Phillies, just no offense in terms of game number 3. Wednesday, we talked about that post game, which leads us to now the magic number. Because of all of this, the Phillies are still, as we know, sitting pretty in cruise control. I know I was talking to Mets friends and Orioles friends and friends from other teams, and I just love to always get the reminder that we are fine. We are okay right now. The magic number is still 4, so the Phillies do have the chance to clinch a playoff berth today. That is a lock. If they can win today, you're in. That is something that for the Phillies, though, based on their season, that's the low bar. We have the expectation of being a playoff team, but at least that is check, like one more thing off the to-do list. Can clinch a playoff spot today. And as you mentioned, Tyler, the magic number for the NL East is 4. So with wins today and tomorrow, they actually have the ability to clinch in New York at Citi Field for the NL East against the Mets, which would be lovely. So that being said, let's get into some predictions as to wrap up our pregame show here, because game time is coming up very, very soon. And so personally, I don't know what to expect today. A Taijuan Walker start makes me nervous. After the offense yesterday, I'm also nervous. Every day has been very different, which also makes me nervous. It could be like an 11-3 win. It can be like an 11-3 loss. Who knows? So I'm going to go optimistically, though, because why not? And share that I think the Phillies are going to have a surprising, with low expectations because it's Taijuan Walker starting. We're going to be pleasantly surprised. We're going to be having a lot of positives to talk about in our watch along. And the Phillies are going to rally around Taijuan Walker for like a 6-4 type of a win.
Yeah, the Phillies are dogs on the run line today. They're plus 1.5. Money line, they're plus 120. Obviously, Vegas thinks that this is not a particularly strong matchup. And I know that Taijuan Walker's pitched well against the Mets in his career. It would be kind of poetic justice if he's the one that tries to help put a nail in the Mets, the proverbial coffin. Because remember, a series split gets you wins you the division title. I don't think it happens today. I'm taking the Mets in this one. I think that they're going to jump all over Taijuan Walker, who, like I said, I hope you get 3 out of him. If you can get him into the 4th, it would be amazing. But I think they're probably looking for 3 innings out of him today. I think the Mets win this one. I don't want to say going away, because I think the Phillies will score some runs off Severino. But I will take the Mets. I'd probably take the Mets on the run line too.
I could see that happening also, unfortunately. The Mets offense has been very consistently good, and that makes me extremely nervous. And I just wonder if they're going to have a shorter leash on Taijuan Walker or not, when you think about the bullpen. So anything can happen, guys. Anything can happen. That being said, we do have our watch-along coming up very shortly. So spiral out, everybody that's tuned in on Twitter, on YouTube Live. We're going to be switching over to our watch-along. Come hang with us as we are watching the fun and all the excitement here on PHLY Phillies podcast. So we'll be sharing that new link in just a moment on Twitter and blasting it on social media. And you guys can stay tuned here on YouTube and Twitter for the new links as we get ready to go live for the game time. See you soon.
We all silly like the mayor.